Welcome to Insight, produced in partnership with RSUTV at Rogers State University in Oklahoma. Today we are chatting with Jana Emerson, Interim President and CEO and COO of the Street School, who has generously agreed to share some of her experience with us. I'd like to thank you, Jana, for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
So the Street School provides an alternative path to education for so many young people. Talk about that alternative path and what makes the Street School so special.
Well, Street School serves students that are in the Tulsa Public School District. And so we are serving students that are 9th through 12th grade who that traditional school setting has just not worked for them for many, many reasons. When they arrive at our doors and they come to us, this is kind of their last chance for getting their education. And so we find that they're very committed to that. And they're very desperate to and hopeful that something will be different with our setting.
So these are children, also families are involved, and there is a real desire, but there's also a real frustration. How do you help them? How do you first engage with these young people who are on the cusp of becoming adults and are facing that challenge and their families?
Well, it's really, I think the most important thing for families and students to know about Street School is our whole model is built around relationship. And so we start forming that relationship from the very minute they make contact with us, whether that's through a phone call, just stopping in. Everything we do, we are looking at our interactions with them from a trauma-informed approach. And so that means that our staff, everyone who's employed in our program, we talk a lot about building relationships. So we want it to be a welcoming place. We want to ensure that, even if we're not the right fit, that we're going to help them find that next step. Truly, it's every day that we have someone either call or drop in. A lot of times, multiple calls a day, but at least one drop in a day, and a family will be desperate to say, can you help me? Everything we do is all about building that relationship with families.
So let's talk a little bit about trauma-informed, because there is a preconception here that is valid.
Right.
The preconception is that people are coming to you because other things haven't worked for them.
That's right.
And that in itself creates the setting for trauma. Now, there might be other reasons for trauma.
That's right. That's right.
But it's very important that you're meeting people where they live at that point, and you start off with acceptance, don't you?
That's right. Absolutely. And on average, we do a lot of pre-assessments before they come in, because we really want to know, especially for our students from the moment that, they were born until where they are right now, what has taken place in their life. So what are their strengths? Where are the weaknesses? What have been some of those significant blocks for them? And that will help us serve them better and kind of know, what maybe there's a therapy, form of therapy that would work better with certain students, or a therapist that might work closely, or, things that we need to avoid. But any kind of teaching strategy that's done is really done in a thoughtful way, because we want to approach education and we want to approach their experience in a whole different way than what they've had in the past with education settings.
And this is so important because our school system basically has grown up as it was modeled on a factory. That's not for everybody.
It isn't for everybody. It really isn't. I guess as a whole, it's important for people to know that the education component is absolutely why we're there, but the therapeutic component is just as important to our model. And so classroom sizes are no more than 13 students. We do a modified block schedule, which means that students are only focusing on 2 classes a day. They have a morning class and an afternoon class. So often kids come to us and they've been switching classes. Every 40 minutes they're switching classes at those traditional sites. They're in classrooms with 30, 40, 50 kids. They're not getting that attention that they need, and they get lost in the shuffle. So our approach is really, teachers are able to form those relationships and work closely with students, fill in those gaps that they've had, because they have them for a 2.5-hour block each day. If there is an issue that a student, we do a homeroom time in the morning where students are checking in with their counselors. That's a great opportunity for our counselors to see them, look them in the eye. Did you get breakfast? Did you get sleep last night? What's going on? That's a great check-in time. And if a teacher sees that a student is struggling, that's a great opportunity for them to say, let's talk to your counselor. Let's pull them in and be able to work through some issues.
And it allows the young person to be at the center of attention.
That's right.
in order to do this, you have to have a staff that is incredibly informed
That's right.
about all these different, how do you cultivate staff? How do you train them? How do you decide to hire somebody or take on a volunteer?
First and foremost, we want to make sure that our staff know the population that we serve and are truly invested in the population we serve. I know that, teenagers are not for everybody. that's sometimes a population that people have difficulty working with. But the most important thing, it does go back to that relationship. Are you interested and invested in forming relationships with these students? If that is their goal, we obviously would look at their past experience when we bring staff in. So much of what we do is that therapeutic component, and so we want to make sure that they've had some background in that, even if though it's been education. Have they had some therapeutic training as well? Have they kind of broadened their horizons in that regard? We also do a lot of training within our staff. So once they're hired on, all of our professional development is going to be focused around trauma-informed care. We work really closely. All our staff are trained on the ACE assessment, which I'm sure most people are beginning to become more familiar with.
We'll talk about the ACE assessment just briefly.
Right. So the ACE assessment it stands for Adverse Childhood Experiences, and so we do that with every student that comes in, because when we're talking about those traumas, we want to know specifically, where's that student coming from.
So the first issue is identifying
Yes.
what the source of trauma might be. It isn't
right.
necessarily going to be the source of trauma.
That's right.
Because people respond to different things differently. But the first issue is creating some sort of a bridge of awareness between
That's
the
right.
counselor
Yes.
and that student.
That's right. And so we spend time as a staff, teachers, counselors, all of us as a staff discussing, okay, this is, these are the students that we have, these are the issues that they're coming in with, so that everybody is aware and everybody is a part of a team.
So when you started off, how did that happen? What was your first class? I don't mean you personally, but the street school.
Right.
What was the first class?
So Street School has actually it was founded in 1973. It's Oklahoma's longest running, most successful alternative program. It ended up actually starting as a drop-in center, and that was kind of the founding principle of it. So it's for students just to get them off the street and have them come in and get some education. But it really, even in those beginning days, it was a very empowering therapeutic environment. And those core principles and those core values have not changed in those 46 years, which is really remarkable. And so, we've gotten better in how we do things just because of, we've really continued that quest of always staying ahead of where the research is going and knowing that, not all of our experiences are going to be the same. And brain development is really important, and we really need to be our staff needs to be educated on, the latest trends with brain development and knowing that, for so long and so many years, when a student had these multiple significant traumas, there wasn't a lot of hope when it came to learning, and there wasn't a lot of hope with, being able to form relationships. But what we've learned in the last decade is that students do actually have the ability to heal from those significant traumas. The brain can heal. And so, even starting out in 1973, those basic principles were there, but we've really prioritized visioning for the future and learning all that we can about where are the trends going in education, where do we need to change, and where do we need to modify.
And how many students are served annually? And what is your budget?
So we're actually in the middle of a 3-year expansion. Last school year we served 176. This year we're projected to serve over 200. Our goal, even though we've been in business for 46 years, our goal is to, in the next 5 to 10 years, is to expand Street School to be able to serve upwards of 600 students.
600
is kind of where we're going.
And these are wraparound services.
Yes.
So you have elements of education. You have elements of, as you say, trauma-informed care. But there are also other services, whether it's showers or being able to wash your clothes or food pantries. This is a very holistic approach,
That's
recognizing that in order to get this youth across the starting
Mhm.
line for the rest of their lives,
right.
which is the high school diploma.
Mhm.
You need to provide these services, and that takes a lot of resource, a lot of
It does.
attention, a lot of volunteers, and
It
a lot of
does.
staff.
It does. If a student needs any sort of resource, we're going to work hard to make sure that they're connected with that resource. So whether they need transportation to get to those appointments, do we need to bring different organizations on site to meet with our students? We want to make sure that they're fully informed. We want to make sure that they are healthy physically, mentally, because we know for them to be successful outside our doors, we have to make sure that they're empowered and ready to go to those next steps. And so making sure of that is expensive. I think that's kind of the biggest hurdle for a nonprofit like we are. But over half of our budget is privately fundraised. So that's a huge hurdle for us. Serving our population and all those wraparound services that we provide is not cheap. It does come at a cost. Unfortunately, a large portion of my time and our administrative time is spent, really seeking out those grants and having fundraisers to get the awareness out about street school. That is a significant burden that we carry, and part of that is because we know that there's students that aren't able to be served.
Well, this is the social compact, right?
That's right.
You have the state of Oklahoma, you have the municipality of Tulsa, you have private citizens all coming together to
That's right.
invest in our youth. We're basically creating our own strength
That's right.
through this investment.
That's right.
So this is America. This
That's
is
right.
the social
That's right.
compact.
It's our future.
Yep. This is what we're about and what we should be about.
That's right. That's right. And one other thing I wanted to mention too, Mark, is that our graduation rate on average is around 90%.
90%.
90% of the students that are with us graduate. Our daily attendance rate fluctuates between 90 and 95%. That means that those students are showing up every day. They're there every day. When students and families are looking at programs that might be appropriate for them, I think so often that families give up hope that that school setting is going to be appropriate for their student. But there are, programs and places like street school that are so unique that we do provide that care that student needs. It's a safe environment for them to be at, and all hope is not lost.
And the students and the family add the ingredients of perseverance.
That's right.
And their own character and
That's
their own
right.
sensibility.
That's right.
Jana Emerson, thank you so much for sharing the fascinating work of the street school in support of our students. Thank you so much for your insights.
Thank you.